One of the big things that we've seen that's dominating the stages at SaaSter and other conferences is this concept of you're seeing a lot of like SaaS companies become more direct to consumer in terms of their branding. And that's something that we took to heart at MXV, at Ginger, at Tilde. So I thought, what better than having the folks that did the design. So in light of this, we invited two of our partners to share their insights on the significance of cultivating lasting brands. First, we have Itai Joseph, the CEO and founder of Fondu, a video production company that has played an integral role in orchestrating today's event. So all the videos and everything that you're seeing, that's done by Fondu and Joseph's team. And then joining him are Tomas Moyano and Nico Chicana, the co-founders of Lunte, who are the product design team behind Ginger, behind Tilde, and MXV. And they've just been awesome. I've known them now for, how many years has it been? Maybe 4 or 5 years in total, and more? How many? Yeah, and they're based in Argentina, and they've just been amazing with it, kind of understanding how to conceptualize how we're thinking about it as a brand and bringing it to life. And not even just on the levels of creating a logo and some brand design. It's even deeper into the customer experience, the user experience. So I'm excited to have Itai, Tomas, and Nico join me on stage.
It's nice to be here. Thank you for having us, and thank you for joining us on this presentation on how to build your brand. I am Tommy, again, founder and lead product designer at Lunte.
And I'm Nico, also co-founder and product designer at Lunte. Lunte is a company that focuses on digital product design, and we help companies build great digital experiences through design thinking.
I'm Itai Joseph, founder of Fondu. We're a boutique video agency. We help the brands of tomorrow discover their inner story. I know one of the themes today has been storytelling and the role of that in growing your startup, so excited to talk more about that.
Okay, so we're going to break today's presentation in 3 main topics. What is a brand and why it's important, and then brand building from a digital product point of view and brand building from a video marketing point of view. So what is a brand? Brand is often a term we use interchangeably with logo design, visual identity design, typography, and other visual aspects of a brand. And sure, you need that to have a brand in place, right? You see some beautiful examples here. One from today you may be familiar with. We built that. However, that's not a brand. Brand is not a logo. A logo is a very powerful tool for your business, and it's a symbol of the brand, but it's not the brand itself. Brand is not a product either. Sometimes we often talk about, I'm buying this brand or that brand, like I'm buying Nike or Adidas, but you're actually talking about buying their products, not the brands themselves. Brand is not a promise either. Some will say that brand is a promise that companies make to their customers, and there is some truth in that, but it's not exactly that either. So what is it? Well, brand is a result. Brand is the customer's gut feeling about your product, your service, your company. It builds on their heads and their hearts, and that's why it's emotional, and Itai will cover that in a second. So in a sense, when you are creating a brand, you are not creating one brand. You are creating as many brands as customers you have, because each one of them is going to have a slightly different brand of you. So brand is a sum of these abstract concepts we have in our heads when we think about a company. How do we build one? Well, it's complex, as you can guess. It's a result of the combinations of a lot of things: the quality of the products you put out there, the messaging, the look and feel. But it's also the employees and the team culture. All of that is affecting your brand. And that means that it takes almost the entire business. Brand building is not something that belongs exclusively to the marketing department or finances or even design. Everyone in the company affects and builds brand. So that's a brand definition for us. Now I'm going to hand it over to Itai to discuss a little bit more about why it's important.
Great. So we know brand is not your logo. It's not your color palette. It's this gut feeling. It's the totality of all the pieces moving together. But why does that really matter? I think Jessica touched a little bit on this in her last talk, which is that if you look at, for example, the UI of three of the top project management tools, they basically look exactly the same. SaaS is extremely saturated. Everyone's competing for a limited number of customers, users, and it's really hard to differentiate. So it's almost becoming commoditized. It's very easy to build and deploy, and so you have to differentiate on something besides your product alone. Jessica obviously touched on that as well, and we feel strongly that brand, especially in today's digital ecosystem, is one of those key pillars to differentiate. There's a great quote from Dale Carnegie. He says that when dealing with people, remember you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion. So obviously, there has to be a rationale behind a decision, but person's emotional connection, their perception, their attachment to sort of the pulling on the heartstrings of that person will sort of influence their logic and influence their rationale, and that's sort of what we have to appeal to. If you're the average knowledge worker, you can probably get basically the same work done in either of these machines. I don't know how many Dell users are in the room right now. It's probably an Apple-heavy room. I don't want to make any assumptions, but one of these machines costs $300, one costs $1,000. But you're not buying based on utility alone, obviously. You're buying based on perception, and that's a result of decades of brand building on the part of Apple. It takes time. So this isn't just like a consumer, something that D2C brands have to focus on. But when you're in the B2B space, and especially, I know a lot of the portfolio companies that we've heard from today are sort of pivoting from that SMB to enterprise market. You're dealing with potentially six-figure, multi-annual deals, contracts. And so the difference between winning and losing one of those massive contracts could be that emotional touch, that brand perception. And so it's something that really can't be overlooked. So that's a quick dive into what brand is, why it's important. I'm going to let Lunte take it away with building brand in digital product.
Thank you, Itai, for that. We saw what is a brand, why it's important, and I want to dig a little deeper into brand building in digital product. Basically, I wanted to bring back the idea of connection and emotion that Itai mentioned. And I think we can still do that by affecting the customer experience through products. So for that, I want to separate these two concepts. Basically, the perception of the brand, which is everything your audience sees and listens about your message and how you position yourself. But then users will inevitably have a contact with your products, and they will have an experience. So we need to take care of that as well. Ideally, we want to create a positive loop between perception and experience. That, in turn, will build a more successful brand. So when we're talking about perception, we want to generate a need. We want to put a promise to our audience. So that's the moment to be attractive, relevant, and basically different and stand out. On the experience side, we want to be able to fulfill that promise. We want to build products that are useful, convenient, and even delightful. So I wanted to jump to a very well-known example, which I love, which is Airbnb. They put themselves as a humans-first company. So they highlight basically human connection, diversity, and basically tell the story of you as a traveler exploring the world and getting amazing experiences. When we jump to the digital experience of Airbnb, it's also about people. They put hosts and guests as protagonists of the story, and they built a very strong rating and reputation system. So you can basically travel feeling safe, staying on someone else's stranger's house. This is very important because it ties back to their promise. So you can think of it as brand building makes sense for having perception of your brand, but also good experiences. And when building for the perception side of things, there are a couple of resources available. You can hire an agency to help you with the brand, or there are books or videos widely available on the internet. On the experience side of things, we as product designers feel there's a bigger challenge, and we tend to see kind of like a behavior in the startup world today, which is companies are jumping to the solution space too quickly sometimes. And they don't really spend too much time understanding the right problems to solve. And that in turn is potentially undermining their brand perception. So to talk a little more about that, I'm going to hand it over to Tommy.
Thank you, Nico. So in SaaS, we all know how to build feature, more or less, right? How to keep well-organized backlogs and track Jira tickets week after week. We have all done that. But when it comes to building experiences, it's much more complex, and only a few reach that point. So that's because solution-centered mindsets result in features which sure can be functional, reliable, and usable, but that's all. On the other hand, problem-centered mindsets result in experiences which, in addition to being functional, are also convenient, pleasurable, and meaningful, creating value in users' heads. So, if in order to build brand, we need to build these experiences and this loop about perception experience that Nico was talking about, how do we shift from a solution-centered mindset into a problem-centered mindset? Well, when it comes to problem thinking, there is a famous quote I'm sure you're familiar with from Albert Einstein. If I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solutions. That's very smart. Well, we designers have this framework we use to think about problems and design solutions. It's design thinking. You might have heard of it. It's a secret sauce that successful startups leverage to build memorable brands and world-changing brands. It's simply about talking and empathizing to people and the customers to deeply understand their needs, their problems, and also their desires. So remember that brand building is affected by everyone in the company. Every single touch point that a person is going to have with your company is going to build brand. So we have here a quick example of a journey map. It's a design thinking technique we recently did at Ginger that clearly helps you to see the peaks and the valleys in the experience, where you should focus and how to improve. So these tools help design these multi-touch point, sometimes complex experiences, and therefore envision how to build your brand. So as we covered today, and I think it happened in the previous talks as well, a good-looking logo or even a product with good features should not be your next brand-related project goal, because that alone is not a differentiator anymore. As Itai mentioned, software is almost a commodity nowadays. So what we believe is going to drive value for your company is to leverage these design thinking techniques to develop a problem-centered approach when it comes to improving your company and your business. So to wrap this part of the presentation, here's an example of our own. Rins is one of our clients. It's a startup that does pick-up and delivery of laundry and dry cleaning. It's a good example of a brand that it's on its way to becoming the national leader on their space. So we work with them on a daily basis, combining perception, as you see there, with the website, the social media, and experience with the digital app, but also what happens in the real world with the interaction between the valet and the person, what they talk about, how do they hand off the bags, and all that experience, with a problem-centered mindset, again, to build brand. So here's a testimonial from a Rins customers. I'm going to read it out loud. I absolutely love using Rins, and I am repeatedly impressed with their customer service. Every interaction I've had with them is so pleasant, professional, and friendly. They have effectively turned one of my most hated chores into something I look forward to. So remember, brand is trust, is emotion, perception, and experience, and it happens on customers' heads. So in this testimonial, you can relate to all that. You see the emotion with the I love and the I hate. You see the perception with the I'm impressed. You see the experience when this person highlights every interaction she had with the company. So that's brand building for us. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Itai to explain from a video marketing point of view.
Raise your hand if you love laundry. No, I'm just kidding. Well, you guys haven't used Rinse yet, so. That's okay. That's a good deep dive into brand and digital product. Let's talk about the video marketing side of things for a couple minutes. Just a couple fun screenshots from our work at Fondu in the SaaS space. I don't know if there are any Feastables fans out here. Any consumers? There you go. Okay, a couple hands. Feastables, if no one's heard of it, it's because it was only founded less than 2 years ago. This is Mr. Beast's global chocolate empire, which used to not exist in early 2022. Now it's worth over $1 billion. It's a rapidly growing chocolate brand. And the reason I point it out is because the growth has really been a result of this content engine. Obviously, Mr. Beast is an outlier, but it shows the power of content as sort of an engine for growth. Not sure how obvious this is, but behind Google, YouTube is actually the second biggest search engine in the world. The New York Times published an article recently that Gen Z actually starts their online search on TikTok. So people are consuming information. They're learning about products and services through video specifically. This isn't just like a consumer experience. We're all humans. We're all we're addicted to these different social platforms. And we, not just on social, but even on a website, like we want to see video. We want to engage with quick, easy to understand, entertaining, concise content. And 95% of B2B buyers actually say video plays a critical role in their purchase decisions. Like I sort of alluded to, it's not just about saying what you do or saying what you offer, but you have to make it fun. You have to make it entertaining. People don't read ads. They read what interests them, and sometimes that happens to be an ad. So especially in this sort of hyper-saturated content frenzy, you really have to create something that's worth watching to stand out and to actually be retained by the end viewer. I want to show an example from Upwork. They just did an awesome campaign in the last year, which I love to point to as an example of a SaaS brand that is really leveraging storytelling to just talk about their value prop in a very unique and unexpected way. So I'll just play this video real quick.
We need to start hiring freelancers.
No, we need butts in seats. That's what Jack would have said.
Stop worrying about what I would have said. I'm dead. All these old rules are made up, so why not make up something better? Bunch of dead guys made up work way back when.
It's our turn now, we'll make it up again.
We'll build freelance teams with more agility. The old way of working is deader than me.
I'll cut it off there. There's a 2-minute director's cut, which I highly encourage watching on YouTube. It's very hilarious. But Upwork's message here and their sort of viewpoint is that the way teams are structured is changing. Use our marketplace platform to create more agile, nimble teams, scale up, scale down as needed. They could have said that outright, but instead they created a zombie musical thriller to create that positioning. And it just creates a lasting impression. When I think about hiring freelancers, I think about Upwork. I don't think about Fiverr as clearly because of this campaign. And this points to a trend which I think Mark mentioned, which is that sort of B2B is converging with B2C in terms of the marketing tactics. Marketers are waking up to this reality that we have to entertain. We have to find a fun, story-driven angle. If you still look at most SaaS brands today on the website, you'll probably find like this 2D, generic, animated explainer type video that shows off what your product does. That has a certain function, but I think that the brands of the future will be vibrant, they'll be fun, they'll be story-driven. And it's not just top of the funnel. It doesn't just happen in that first kind of awareness stage. I don't know if anyone's watched the Webflow kind of developer videos, but they're a great example of how even like after you've acquired a customer, you're still engaging them with fun, entertaining, story-driven content to create that stickiness and to just keep people excited about using your product and become long-term loyal customers. So I'll play a quick clip to show you how they do that.
What if there was a single course that covered everything web design and development? A course that literally taught the entirety of software engineering. Something that goes in depth in Ruby and Django, Node.js, and Microsoft Front Page. That's not this
is
course.
not that course.
Slightly alternate angle. This course is an introduction to the fundamentals of web design and development. What that means is we'll cover 90% of what you need to know to get started developing your own sites. Apple, Google, Netflix, Stripe, Berkshire Hathaway.
Huge fan of the Berkshire Hathaway site. It's really super sleek. So, and this is the start of a whole academy. So there's like tens and tens of these videos that Webflow has. And they're just super fun to watch. I think people love developing on Webflow and designing on Webflow because it's not just they can actualize their vision. It's fun to learn. It's fun to continue to explore the platform and become a more committed user. But I think this points to sort of a broader trend where you're building a product, you're solving a gap in the market. That's first and foremost. But because of the way people consume information, every company is being forced to sort of become their own media engine, to have that layer, to have that arm on top of the core product that they're selling. I think the big problem, especially in startup land, and maybe this is like the elephant in the room, but like video is just too hard. It costs too much. It's a huge headache. It takes too much time. And I think we have to just reframe sort of how we view the video making process. So the first point is that video is a marathon, not a sprint. What I mean by that is building a content engine and kind of continuing to engage your viewers has a long time horizon to get there and to develop that and to let that sort of evolve. So the key is you want to start and lay the groundwork with your first video project and start creating your story from the outset. So it might be a tiny little, explainer video. It might be a customer case study if you're trying to bolster sales with, collateral that they can use to go out and sell. Whatever that pain point is that's causing you to start your first video project, think about story as you're starting to build. So how do you do that? The first step is to define your story. What is it that makes you who you are? You want to establish some creative themes that enable you to express that, and then just start with the highest priority, like I was saying. When it comes to your story, I think this is another thing that a lot of SaaS companies get wrong, is that you think that you're the hero of your story. Don't be a hero. Your customer is the hero of your story. Your customer has a pain point. They need a solution. They have a vision. They have a goal. And there's something stopping them, there's something blocking them, and that's where you come in and you provide a solution. You fix their pain, you give them a clearly outlined process to get them to their end goal and avert disaster. And the more you can kind of get those nodes in the story down pat, the better you'll be able to reinforce that and bolster that across all of your content moving forward. The next thing you want to think about is just creative themes. So this could be anything from tone of voice to visual language to the way things move, like in your videos, to sound and music choices. Like, are you a jazz brand? Are you a rock brand? Are you whimsical? Are you nerdy? Are you edgy? Like, there's a lot of things to think about in terms of expressing your personality. And then the next thing is to actually just get started, boots on the ground, start with the highest priority. Which video project will move the needle right now? I think another challenge that people perceive is writer's block. But there's actually a secret. Your content is sitting right in front of you. Everyone look under your chair. Just kidding, it's not there. It's in Google Drive, or in Notion, whatever. It's basically, you've already built a ton of content. You've built a product page, you've built a newsletter, you've got blog content. You might not have all these things, but even if you just have a few written assets that you've already generated that address some aspect of the customer journey, you'll be able to take that written substance, infuse it with your personality, and now you're on your way to starting to build your brand story. So the big point is that take that personality work that you've done out from the outset, lay the groundwork, infuse that into your existing content, flip open a camera. It could be an iPhone, it could be a DSLR, it could be whatever's accessible, and now you're on your way to creating a B2B media engine. Congratulations. So I'll share a little snippet of some of the fun projects we've been working on recently at Fondu. And yeah.
I got something you can't explain. La 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 la. In a metaphysical kind of way. La 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 la. Can you feel it?
Keep it funky. All right. I think we nailed all the points. Yep. Nice job, guys.
Yeah, we did.
Let's do a quick summary.
Well, remember, on the digital product side, when it comes to brand building, brand happens in customer heads and hearts, and it's your business reputation. It's influenced by everyone in your company. Design thinking is a tool, is a framework that will help you understand problems and map this complexity of building these experiences, and ultimately building your brand.
On the video marketing side, we talked about the fact that brand is essential to differentiate. The SaaS brands of the future will, in fact, be media-driven. And once you take personality, you've done that initial story-driven work, merge that with your content, now you're on your way to becoming a B2B media engine. And with that, I don't know if there's any questions, but happy to chat or schmooze back in the other place. Yeah.